Now, Washington Mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
8:36 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. We are continuing our inauguration coverage today. It's Mornings on the Mall with Brian and Larry. Joining us now, Dan Bongino. You know him, of course, as the Republican candidate for Senate this last time around in 2012. Unfortunately, he didn't win that election, but he won our hearts, and so we like to bring him back whenever we can. Being a former Secret Service agent is very relevant today, considering this is probably, Dan Bongino, one of the bigger days in the calendar for the Secret Service, the Inauguration Day, considering the entire world is watching.
Well, after the Ravens game, this is the Super Bowl. For the Secret Service.
Look at that. In the
like
very
that?
first,
how I do that in there?
very first 30 seconds, you're tweaking the Redskins fans with the Ravens thing. You know, we were so magnanimous earlier saying if the Redskins can't win, then we're going to back the Ravens, and there you go. You hammer us.
You got to rub it in a little salt. You know, I like your conversation earlier about the bangs too. I think you should throw that in there. I think you with the bangs.
Hey, if you had bangs, first of all, we call you Dan Bongino, and maybe you would have won there, Bongino, huh? If you had some bangs.
Oh, I see how it's going to be. Well, Larry, what about security on a day like this? I mean, what kind of task? It would seem to be almost a monumental undertaking for the Secret Service.
You know, I've done a few spots on a couple of networks this morning, and we said, well, how do you secure really what's a quadrant of Washington, D.C., southwest and northwest portions there bleed over? And the answer is you don't. You secure them block by block, and that's the difference. When I was there in the last inauguration, I was responsible for the parade route. And
oh, my.
Specifically, the portion where he got out to wave.
Well, I was there when that happened. I was in the flatbed truck immediately preceding the motorcade. So I remember that moment very vividly.
Yeah, I mean, those were the moments that the Lord Almighty made coffee for. You know, my blood pressure went up 100 points when you get out of the car, but it took months and months of planning. And the key is to break it down into manageable bites. You know, you don't need a 21-ounce porterhouse, 21 ounces at a time. You have to break it down block by block, and it's actually more manageable than it looks when you do it that way.
And so it is the entire contingent of the Secret Service mobilized at a time like this, and do you also call in reinforcements from other agencies?
We call in everyone, military, armed law enforcement, some auxiliary-type law enforcement, unarmed, EMTs, paramedics, National Guard, basically the entire Secret Service is working today. They're at minimum staffing at our field offices around the country. They fly people in. I've got friends staying in Virginia. Some of the hotel rooms were so crowded that they moved them out to Virginia. But, if you're not working today, you're on some minimum staffing. We're all answering a phone in an office, but it's an all-hands-on-deck approach. I was down there this morning, and it's pretty cold, but it's not as cold as it was last time.
Yeah, I want to go back to that moment that you talked about that you were responsible for in the last inauguration. That moment where the president, first lady decide they're going to exit the car. It's not by accident where they choose to do that. But I can only imagine if you're the guy responsible for that block where the president is going to step out of the car and walk for a short distance. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine the pressure that must be on you at that particular moment.
You see, Brian, you've been in the media a while. You know that none of this stuff is extemporaneous. Of course, it was all scripted. It's not designed to look that way, but it is. But, your blood pressure goes up, and the first thing you're thinking is hands. You can't shoot someone with your eye. Everything is hands. So you have hundreds of agents and military personnel and police officers helping you out, and you're hoping and you're praying that they listen to your instructions thoroughly. And that's the first thing. Then windows, you don't want any windows opening. You have all your counter-sniper teams looking at that. And then, this is all going through your head at the same time. Chemical, biological, you're looking for smoke. Anyone, God forbid, grabbing their neck, like in that choking motion.
I can't imagine how much pressure that must be.
It's incredible. That's why, running a Senate campaign was easy compared to some of the stuff we used to do. I mean, the penalty for failure on a campaign is really, nothing. The penalty for failure on Inauguration Day for America's first black president, when I was involved, which was a historic day, would be the country would have changed forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a very anxiety-producing moment. I was very happy when it was over.
Well, listen, thank you for that service that you gave to our nation and to the president when you were with the Secret Service, and now here we are. You mentioned your Senate campaign, and a lot of people are mentioning you really held up well, I think, during the campaign, and you were pretty good with the media. They're thinking that you might be a good person to run against our governor in Maryland, Mr. O'Malley, and Governor O'Malley just put forth some sweeping proposals for gun restrictions. One would think a guy like you, Dan Bongino, might actually be able to use an issue like that to make some hay. What do you think?
I am so tired of being lectured by O'Malley and Andrew Cuomo. I mean, lawyers who've probably never fired a gun in their entire lives. For 16 years of my life as a police officer and a Secret Service agent, I could have carried a gun. I didn't, but that was my choice. That's the difference. I am tired of being told by hypocrites and phonies like our governor about what I need for my family and my protection. I never, ever in my time in law enforcement arrested someone who had a gun legally, ever. These laws are great for law-abiding citizens. Bad guys don't obey the laws. When are they going to leave this utopian fantasy land they live in their little palaces and exist in the real world with the rest of their little minions like us? This is ridiculous. I'll tell you, I'm going to announce there first, guys. When I got a decision coming up soon.
You'll announce it right here on Mornings on the Mall. All right, we got that.
You know what I love about Dan Bongino is he's so muted in the way he makes
I know. It's all very subtle. It's subtle. But
that's not my specialty.
But let me just follow up really quickly, Dan Bongino, because listen, you were in charge of protecting the president from God forbid, a gunman. I mean, that this is a very real threat and a very real danger. Wouldn't your job as a Secret Service agent and your job as a police officer, when you were a police officer, be better, be easier, if there weren't so many guns out there?
There would be, if that would be the actual result produced by legislation limiting guns. But that's not what's going to happen. Not to mention, we have a Second Amendment right that says otherwise. People are free to move if you don't like that. But you can amend the Constitution, but no one wants to because they know it's not popular. Americans have the right to protect themselves. And that's it. That's the law of the land. You want to change it, you're more than welcome to run yourself, but they're not going to do it because that's not what Americans want.
All right. Well, I want to see Dan Bongino on with Piers Morgan.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see if we make that happen.
Dan Bongino, thanks for